Hello, all you hardcore boxing fans out there, how you doing? It's Russ here from Porky's Corner, biggest gob in sport. Yeah, what do you reckon, tip top? I've got the Cobra top on for you, Julian. Thought we'd have a bit of a laugh. How you doing, Julian? You there, mate? Are you there, Julian? Earth calling Julian. It's one of them fucking days, isn't it? Ah. You there, mate?
Morning, Russell. I've just been spending 2 minutes looking for my Mac charger. Things disappear in this house, not just phone chargers, but laptop chargers I like to take, pal. How you doing?
I'm all right, mate. How are you?
I'm out of breath running around thinking about Russell's logged on. And where's my Mac charger?
I've been in early this morning, so I wanted to get some training done. And you set yourself up for a day, don't you, really?
Yeah, I think after we've done here, I think I'm going to do a bit. I trained last night, and I think I'm going to do a bit of training myself, mate.
Yeah. Well, are you still feeling the same?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. Right, I just want to make the first point I'm going to start with is I speak to you every day. We're mates. Yeah. People don't know that. Maybe don't know it well. We're good mates. We chat about all kinds of things. And I said to you a long time ago, but months and months.
Shut this window because this billboard's going to fall on my head.
No, you don't want that, do you?
Yeah, go on, pal. Go on.
So I said to you a few months ago, for me to stay in boxing, stay continuing supporting, watching boxing, because you have to be a man of your word. I says, if Tyson Fury doesn't fight Usyk and we don't get the fight that we've been craving, and if KRUSHER Benn fights and doesn't serve a reasonable ban, I said to you, didn't I? I said, I've done. It's like there's not a lot left in boxing for me. And it's not a sulking thing. It's not a not getting my own way thing. It just means that I no longer recognise the sport and I no longer support boxing. So I said that to you, and that's exactly what's happened. Is I'm not going to use the word cleared, by the way. We'll talk about the details and the semantics shortly. But I said to you, I've got to be a man of my word. I've got to walk away from it. I'll give you a couple of examples. So first of all, I used to be on Facebook, and I realised, like a lot of people did, Facebook for some people is great. It's a great friendly thing, but for others, it can be quite toxic, and it don't do you any good. And people are always talking about. People always put posts on Facebook saying, "That's it, I'm coming off." And I thought, I'm not going to be dramatic, but Facebook's no good for me. It doesn't enhance my life in any way. And I came off Facebook. I deleted the whole thing, right? Came off. There we go. I'm offside. Okay, that's
go on, Joe G. And Morris Corey.
What I also said to you was, if Sykes doesn't get what he's earned, I'll give up my British Boxing Board control license, didn't I? I said that to you as well. And I gave it up. People might agree, they might not. You should be in boxing, you'd be great carrying on coaching. People are missing out. But you got to give up things that aren't good for you. It don't matter if it's addiction. It don't matter if it's people who are toxic in your life. Sometimes you got to give up things that are just not good for you. And that's all I've done. Now, I gave up boxing in 2014. I shut my gym and I walked away from it. I cancelled Boxing News subscriptions, DAZN, or not DAZN at the time, Box Nation, Sky Sports. I got rid of all the phone numbers in my book. And I had 2 years, about 2.5 years, when I didn't watch boxing and didn't talk about boxing. And like a fool, I got dragged back in. I got asked to coach some promising amateurs, and then I went back into pros. Anyway, chapter and verse, you don't want that. But what I'm saying is, I always say what I'm going to do. You know, people talk nonsense, don't they? I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that. I'm going to go to the gym Monday, I'm going to get fit, right? I'm going to stop smoking. If I say I'm going to do something, I do it. And I do what's best for me. The first thing I said to you when we came on, I first came on your show, well, people always do what's best for themselves, right? This ain't good for me. It's as simple as that.
I understand where you're coming from, because you've trained with world ranked fighters who won British titles and all that, and you've been around it, and you've been ex-boxer yourself. But why would you let these spoil something you've been involved in all your life, Julian?
purely because it's not good for me. It's just as simple as that. So what they did to Sykes, I can never forgive and I can never forget. Now, there's 2 points in Sykes's life that I've had to deliver him the bad news, me, always. When you've had to tell a fighter his dream of a world title shot is over with 2 weeks to go. I'm talking obviously about the Adrian Broner fight in Vegas. And you have to tell him that that whole card's been cancelled because Lamont Peterson, the drugs cheat, had tested positive, and Gary Sykes' dream was over. His boyhood dream of fight for world title was over because of a drugs cheat. When you have to tell someone that, and then you have to tell someone because of politics and nonsense that he's not won the belt outright, when you know he's past his best then and there's no way of him getting that belt back. He hasn't won the belt outright. He's lost his title. When you have to deliver that kind of news to someone and break their heart, you understand where I'm coming from. It's as simple as that. Right? So first of all, so in terms of Conor Benn, yeah, this is my Conor Benn video. This is what we're going to talk about. And I thanks for having me on, buddy, honestly. So first of all, Conor Benn released a statement months and months ago saying the WBC had cleared him. Piers Morgan, on his show, who's a family friend of the Ben, says, well, actually, technically, the WBC didn't clear you of anything. They just said there's probably a likely cause. There wasn't contamination. There's a likely cause for clomiphene in your system. So Piers Morgan, his own friend, put him right. So I don't pay too much attention to statements from Eddie Hearn and Conor Benn. But the most important thing for me is I'm a man of my word, right? I don't care what people say about me. I'm a man of my word. Now, I'll apologise to Conor Benn, yeah, and I'll donate a big sum of money to any charity of his choice if he can give us scientific proof there's no clomiphene in his system, because that was his first contest, that was his first defence. It is not in my system. Now, my question to you, Russell, what's come out yesterday and what's going to come out in the next few weeks, has anybody said there is evidence that there was no clomiphene in his system?
No, all they said is he's cleared to fight. You don't mean to say that he's cleared of clomiphene, does it?
Exactly. Now, has anybody said his second defence was, if it is in the system, there's been contamination? Has anybody, UKAD, VADA, the WBC, has anybody said there was contamination with due process or with the lab tests? Nobody. So there's no contamination. It's in your system. There's no contamination. So there's 2 words. It's called strict liability. So I'm not going to apologise for what I've said 8-9 months ago when I did a video. It was the biggest viewed video I'd ever done. You shared it. I got over 40,000 views. I said, don't feel sorry for Conor Benn and Eddie Hearn. And I said then at the time what was going to happen. I've changed my mind sometimes over the past 7, 8, 9 months, because you do. But I said at the time, I predicted this was going to happen. He'll either get a soft ban or he'll get no ban at all. I says because they will argue various things, whether it's contamination, jurisdiction, technicalities. The law is a very, very technical thing. When independent anti-doping agencies, the regulators, look at people like UKAD or VADA or WADA or whoever, they look at things in a technical way. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about jurisdiction might be one element of that. Yeah, was the ban, that was a temporary suspension that UKAD gave Ben, was it lawful? Did they have jurisdiction to do that? That's one of the elements that they will have looked at.
Well, I don't think they would have done. Will they? Because Dylan White were allowed to fight Rivers while he were battling that B sample, wasn't he? Am I right? Am I right? Yeah. And that sort of like disappeared. And is it 4 year last week? I think it's 4 year last week. Where's the B sample for Dylan White's B sample? 4 year last week.
And this is the thing. This is it ultimately. I'm not going to make an apology for predicting the influence of power and money. I'm not going to make an apology for saying actually he's going to get away with this. I said to you right at the beginning, he's going to fight for world titles and he's going to earn millions and millions and millions and millions, and this is going to go away in a couple of years and he's going to be loved. I said all these things. People, great people watch your channel. Most of them said the same thing. Julian called this. Julian said this would happen. You called it, Russell. You said
Dripping Tap called it to start with, didn't he?
Dripping Tap called it. So listen, if Conor Benn, if there's clinical proof that says it's not in his system, or there's absolute proof that says there was failures at the laboratory and there were failures with the process, and there's a real cause for contamination at the labs of the process, I'll apologise. Until that point, I'm not going to apologise for technicalities and predicting what's actually happened. I ain't going to do that, mate. I'm just going to say, do you know what? You can't bang your head against a 50-ton truck because you're not going to be able to move it. There's nothing you can do. I'm a little person. I'm nobody, mate. I'm nobody.
Yeah. Let me just say something to you now. Right? I think I've told this story before. I had a friend from Parson Cross. I'm going to say his second name. His name's Craig. We're in jail. And he was caught on a burglary with 15 characteristics. Now, there's got to be 16 for a guilty, right? They kept him on remand that long. He would have probably got a 3 or a 4 for burglary, yeah? They kept him on remand that long. They dropped it. Say it's dropped on a technicality. He did the burglary. But they didn't get 16 characteristics. Or they couldn't place him at scene at crime apart from that bit of a finger dab. But you need 16 for a conviction. So what they did, they knew it was him. His mate had all stuff. He didn't have anything in his house whatsoever. He was on remand all that time. They just dropped it. But they'd had the pound of flesh out of him because he was on remand. Now, do you think that Conor Benn's been out of action now 16 months, that they probably thought, they're still not admitting it and they're draining our resources? So let's just throw it away and let's cry a crock up. Let's go pick on the Liam Camerons of this world. You know, we've got no money. A world-ranked fighter who took a 4-year ban for a line of coke. If he even did have coke.
I know one person. I'm not going to say his name. All right, he's got plenty of money and plenty of influence. He's had more points on his driving license because there's a limit, isn't there? When you get to a certain point, you get banned. You get taken off the road.
You can have 20 points on your license if you get a good enough lawyer and a good enough letters to say you do charity work, you've got a mortgage, you've got kids from other relationships. They've got to let you go to work. They've got to keep your license.
Look at Katie Price. Look at she's basically the things that she's done. You could argue she should 5-year ban, 10-year ban. She's driving
prison time.
Prison
time, but she's got a disabled kid, so they're not going to send her to jail because that disabled kid then has to go in care. So they look for alternatives not to send her to jail. That's why they have a probation and they do a probation report before you go to court. You look at her circumstances. If it's me, Jack the lad, and I'm caught with a kilo, I'm going to get plenty, aren't I? I'm going to get 15 years or something. But if it's her, they're going to say, well, she's got a kid here.
Well, you and I talked about UCAD a while ago. I think it was the last video we did. And we said they don't have infinite resources in terms of money. If people play back the last video you and I talked about, we said, no. You know what? They might turn around UCAD and say, we can't put any more money into this. You do what you want.
Tyson Fury nearly bankrupted them.
Yeah. Our findings, looking at the VADA tests and looking at everything else, that's our findings. We place you on provisional suspension. If you want to throw your second dream team at this and you want to throw all this money at this, listen, we've got other people to look at. We've got other athletes to look at. We've got other things to do. We've got a finite resource. And do you know what? Do what you want. And you and I said this last time. So what are we going to apologise for calling this out, for predicting this? Can someone tell me that Conor Benn's a clean athlete?
No, I don't think he is, but we have to go on what they're saying. Well, let's see some proof. Let's see some facts. That's what we want to see. Let's see some proof. They mind all this is cleared and all that, and this big do they've got at weekend with all that shower on it. You've seen it, haven't you? It's old pals act, isn't it?
Listen, you got GAD, you got IFL, you've got Matchroom, you know.
Johnny Fisher, Dave Colwell going down there. Who wants to listen to him? Why is Dave Colwell going down to London to do this gig with them? We couldn't hear a squeak out you not long ago, Colwell, could we? Maybe I might need to bring Nicky Smedley back on my channel and Matt. Pop, bang.
None of them they're all in bed together, and this is what you can't beat them. That's why I love what you do, mate, because you won't give up, will you? You keep at them, you won't give up.
I can fight like fuck as well for 11 stone 1.
You're not bothered, mate. You don't care, and I know you can't. So you're not bothered, right? But
no.
With me, like I say, it's not Conor Benn. It's a combination of realizing over a long period of time, boxing's not good for me. And I've mentioned this before, right? It's a bit philosophical, but look, when my dad died about 2 years ago, it's crushing. It's devastating, right? I lost my dad about 2 years ago, and we're just coming out of COVID, and pretty bleak times with COVID for a lot of people. My dad died of COVID. He was in hospital. I couldn't see my dad when he died. Or you know the story, mate. And it's probably not for your channel, but I'm saying it for a reason. And I started listening to Sylvester Stallone. Now, Sylvester Stallone generally wouldn't be considered someone who was a wordsmith, but his philosophy is quite good. Now, Sylvester Stallone said something that really resonated with me. I actually turned 50 on Father's Day. I was born on Father's Day. My 50th birthday for on Father's Day when my dad had just passed away. So my first Father's Day, age 50, I didn't feel like celebrating and stuff like you'd expect. And I'm watching Stallone, and Stallone said basically, listen, when you get older, your greatest currency is time, right? Because it becomes more valuable because you have less of it. I know that sounds really, really standard, but Stallone said, don't spend your time and your energies focusing on either people or things that don't hold the same principles as you and they're not going in the same direction as you, because you can never get that time back. So I started listening to that sort of things, and you have a moment, we're men, we get to a certain age, and it's kind of it's a funny age is 50. I did a lot of reading about it. And you're finding this, aren't you? And anybody else who's watching this might resonate and say, it is a strange age.
We don't have time for knackers, chatters, and bullshit at our age, do we?
And that's it. You can't be bothered, can you? You just you realise, I can't change my personality. I can't change myself. And you know what? It's why old people are so funny and cantankerous, because they say, I just say what I like, and I'm not right bothered now because I'm too old and long in the tooth to worry about what other people might think and worry about offending people. And I'm getting to that stage. I have to be diplomatic for lots of different reasons, work-wise, professional reasons. But in terms of Conor Benn, right, I don't believe he's a clean athlete, or he was a clean athlete. He might be now. I don't believe he was a clean athlete. Whether that was because he inadvertently took something or intentionally took something, the truth is we'll never know. He can't take me to a court for slander because he can't prove he didn't, unless there's evidence that says there was no clomiphene in his system. He can't prove whether he inadvertently took it or intentionally took it. And I can't prove that either. You can't prove one way or the other. But what we know so far, based on information we've had, is there's nobody said it's not in his system, right? So I look at the red flags. We look at the doctor. You and I, this bloody doctor who's missing. There's a misper out for this doctor, Sajman husband, whatever he's called. He's gone missing off the face of the earth.
He's disappeared to Punjab.
Yeah, not, all this stuff, not enrolling to VADA's, the WBC's clean boxing program at the first time of asking. All this nonsense. The WBC, basically saying we think there was contamination, but they only focused on the first test, didn't they? They didn't focus on the second test. There were technical reasons around that. There's too much stuff, right? Unless there's clinical evidence that suggests it wasn't in his system or it was planted, then I'm not going to change my position. But ultimately, you'll never beat the majority. People will start to move towards Conor Benn and support Conor Benn. So I said to you, if Ben gets cleared, if Fury doesn't fight Usyk and he decides he wants to fight guys who've never had a boxing match in their life, they're free to do so. I wish them all the best, but it's just not something I want to watch anymore. It's as simple as that. And I'm not even like annoyed or upset about it, because how can you be annoyed or upset about something what you expected, what you predicted, what you think it is what it is. Now, what I will say about UKAD, and this is the semantics, these statements from Conor Benn. The last statement was technically flawed. Now, this statement, I've had to read it before I came on here. I couldn't be bothered reading anything last night. I scanned this statement this morning and I scanned UKAD's. Now, if UKAD have cleared Conor Benn, why have they been given 21 days to appeal? You don't appeal your own decision where you clear somebody. What's happened is they've obviously presented evidence that they think, backs up that temporary suspension and backs up a potential ban. And then the independent ombudsman, whoever these guys are, these are the ones who have overturned that. And they said, no, we're going to side with Conor Benn, and you've got 21 days to appeal. So Conor Benn said in his statement, UKAD have cleared him. UKAD haven't cleared him. The independent regulators have stepped in.
It's not like ombudsman where if you've got a problem with your car insurance, you can take it up with them because they're
That's exactly what's happened. This is an independent regulator who they'll review the findings. They're like auditors. They review the findings, and there might have been conversations. There might not. What says, well, actually, you did that, but you didn't have jurisdiction. You did that, but you didn't follow the technical law of the letter in terms of how you applied it. Because UKAD actually made a statement yesterday, and they made a statement a while ago, which said, generally, we don't make statements about this type of thing, but because of effectively the provocative nature of Ben going on social media and other people saying certain things, this is we're allowed to say this and we're allowed to say that. So when you're using statements like WBC have cleared me, no, the WBC gave you a potential reason why it was in your system. That's the first thing. And then when you say UKAD have cleared me, UKAD haven't cleared you. UKAD have been overruled. That's clearly what's happened. They've been overruled by the regulators. Now, we don't know why they're being overruled. They might be overruled because they haven't followed due process and the testing is flawed, or they might be overruled because they don't have jurisdiction. And I think it was the Daily Mail who did an article. I've just scanned it out, walking the dog, and the Daily Mail have alluded to the fact, saying that I haven't gone down the path of contamination. They haven't gone down that path. They've gone down the path.
So they've all jumped the gun then.
They've gone down the path of jurisdiction. That's what they've done. But what's going to happen now, and this might be my final prediction, is UKAD won't appeal this 21 days based on what you and I have said. Why? How much is it going to cost to appeal this decision?
They only do the test. They're not bothered if he fights or not.
And people don't get this. They're all going to be down at this matchroom bum fest, right?
They've done their job and said, look, you've got that in your system. What you do with him, we don't give a flying. But it's in your system. That's our job done. It's like a mechanic fitting an engine in a car, and you're going off trying to do 100 in second gear, blowing it up, and him saying, look, I've done my job. How you drive it, it's up to you. You see where I'm coming from?
That's exactly what's happened. And that's one of the reasons I don't want to watch this stuff anymore, because it's all going to be just innocent, victim. It's going to all be just like pushed out there now. But the worst thing about this is not Conor Benn fighting again. My view is if it wasn't his system, strict liability, give him a ban, give him a 2-year ban and let him box, fine. People make mistakes, right? Okay, can't punish him forever for making a mistake. That's not the issue. That's not what I'll struggle with. It's going to be the turncoats in the media I can't cope with. The gad. And
the gad! Get your tongue off his arsehole! Grown men!
And it's this, you see, I knew he was innocent. And no one's used the words innocent. No one's used the word, UKAD haven't used the word clear. The WBC didn't clear him. Anyway, I'm repeating that 100 times. It's going to be this absolute bumfest, right? It's going to be cringeworthy, embarrassing. And there are good, hard-working trainers and fighters out there and managers who are jockeying to try and get ahead in this sport. And what's happened now is this could potentially be massive, right? Whether it gets off,
sport, it could, couldn't it?
This is massive because
listen. Oh, let's look at it like this. Right? Let's say Dempsey Whale from Barnsley. What is he, about 10-0? Let's just say Dempsey gets an English title shot next year, or a Commonwealth eliminator, and the other party come to him and say, "Hey, you've got to pay X amount for testing." Like your purse and all that, his team and that. If that were my fighter, I'd turn around and say, no, it's not worth a toss, all that testing, get to F. That's what I'd say. Why would it be fair? If Dempsey Whale down the line could end up fighting somebody like Conor Benn, or Conor Benn, could he? Similar weight. Should he have to pay for testing? When if they're having testing, other team, they've got loads of money and they can take what they want and blast any testing agency away with lawyers. How is that a safe sport? If anything, it's a more dangerous sport now than ever.
Listen, what if we had the money? I'd have taken the border control to court. Sykes would have done. You can't. They're a group of Queen's Counsel and very senior
working for free. I've met a few of them. Like I went to an after show. What is it? Is it John Reese? He's a QC, isn't it?
Yes, that's right.
Well, I seen him with his head in a bird's tits, and there were hell on. Ask Clinton Woods, Dennis's dad. Can't ask Dennis's dad. He was there. There were Dennis. There were a few, and he was staggering about like a hobo, wasn't you, John Reese? You know, Rutland Hotel. Yeah. QC.
How can you come up against that? How can Gary Sykes?
Because they're working in-house. It's all old pals act, isn't it? So you've got to have some money to take them on, haven't you? Isn't that right? John Reese.
Which is why I've taken the position I've had. It's like, what? I came off, I deactivated my Instagram account and Facebook. It was so cathartic. It was so good. And when I removed YouTube last night, it was just so cathartic. It's like, I don't need to do it. Listen, you and I are mates. That ain't going to change, right? It's just, boxing's just the reason what sometimes brings people together. But we're both in the same corner in terms of this corruption and this. We're just little men. It's like, you know, you look at some of your content's miles better than some of these guys who are 10 times bigger. Miles better, mate. But how can you compete with IFL? How can you have your own garden party this afternoon where you get all these boxers who's going to come and all these sponsors and all these promoters just bending each other over? How can you compete with that? You don't want to, do you?
No, but what it is, you see, right? Half of them are cheating. For example, right, Coogan's channel, 800 odd subscribers, 800 odd thousand subscribers. But if you could check it out, his average is probably 5 times bigger than mine. My average is what, 3,000 a video lately?
Yeah.
Between 1,000 and 7 for the last 30 videos, whatever. But he don't get 800,000 views. So what are other fucking 780,000 doing? If his average is 19,000, where are the other 720,000 people? Because they don't fucking exist.
It's nonsense. It's just absolute bollocks, isn't it?
If he were that big, he'd have a chance go like Piers Morgan ain't got many followers than Coogan, does he? He ain't got
just
much
buying.
more.
It's like we've talked about these people with 50,000 Instagram followers, that they're just buying subscribers, they're buying followers. It's a load of rubbish, and the narrative is going to. There'll be a couple of people out there like you, like what we're talking about today, and a couple of people saying he hasn't effectively been cleared. This has happened, and if you can't, but it doesn't matter. People haven't got the time or the patience to listen and watch
this. You know what? It's become a story now, Julian, right? That everybody's sick of, but they're not sick of it because they keep pumping it out. And this could be a load of shit, and then he could be banned for 18 months in another month. It could be a load of shit, but his name's out there, and that lot thrive on controversy, circus, and writing scripts and soap operas. They did it with snooker, and the snooker establishment hated them for it. And look what happened. They ended up getting it, didn't they? They ended up buying World Snooker. They ended up buying the World of Snooker Professional Billiards Association. It's called World Snooker now, isn't it? Yep, they're the head honcho, and darts, but not fucking boxing.
So
they're trying to dominate, aren't they?
Yeah. And ultimately, they don't truly love boxing, do they? You know, you can make as many videos as you want, giving gloves to amateur boxing clubs and donating rings and all this kind of stuff. You can do that as much as you want, but ultimately, you're standing in front of young amateurs. You're going to the gyms and you're talking to these young kids, and you're standing in front of them, and you're supporting cheats in boxing. And I won't change my stance on it. I won't change my position unless. I'll keep repeating this point because I know you've had messages from people saying, is Julian going to apologise? Apologise for what? Apologise for calling out foul play. Apologise for predicting this was going to happen. They're going to get away with it, or they're going to get a little pat on the wrist. Apologise for that. Apologise. What have we been told? What evidence?
Well, I don't know if two people have asked me that now, right? And I don't.
No, I've had it as well.
I don't know if they mean it in banter.
No, I've had a bit as well. I've had a couple of people mention it to me. as well.
Well, I'm not going to apologise for what, like you just said. He's failed 2 tests and that's it. When Gerald Miller failed all them tests,
yeah,
they went after him, didn't they? Eddie went after Kilello, all of them, didn't he? He didn't go after Dylan White though, or Conor Benn, but he went after everybody else. So what's good for goose is good for gander.
Well, they were going to stone drugs cheats, weren't they, at one point?
No, that was Tony Bell you wanted them stoning it. Yeah, but he knows Conor, Tony, and it's his pal, and he won't do it like that because he knows him.
It's
all right, Tony.
I mean, I've not seen it, but I think Eddie Hearn went on Piers Morgan, didn't he? Was it this week? So the timing of it, they knew, didn't they?
Yeah, they knew it would come in.
Remember we talked, I said to you about Frank Smith, didn't I? I said he either knows he's banned, he either knows he's got off, or he knows something, because he knows the outcome. The other night when he was swallowing and his burrow, his frowning and all that kind of frowning, that kind of stuff. I said to you the other night, that Frank Smith knows something. And again, we were proved correct, weren't we? They knew, didn't they?
Yeah.
They knew what were coming out this week. And it's like you've said, let's see what comes out of this. I don't think UKAD's going to appeal. I don't think that, why would you? Like you just said, you've nailed it in a sentence, which is, that's what we've found. There you go. What you do with that, we don't care. We've done our job. We're a testing agency. There you go. Done. VADA's given us the findings. This is our investigation. Packaged it with a bow on. There you go. And that's what they've done. And for whatever reason, they've been challenged on process, or they've been challenged on jurisdiction. They've been challenged on something. And Conor Benn keeps saying, I'm cleared, I'm cleared, I'm cleared. Well, I disagree, you've been cleared, mate. Cleared of what? Cleared of what? Cleared of what?
They've found a way, haven't they, to get around it. That's all they've done with enough money. And that's the damned indictment about society is now, isn't it? It's like, we see people all the time get off with murder charges, don't we? High profile trials because they've got loads of poke. Whereas the man in the street, he has like a legal, they get legal aid for no, and they just spent, yeah, got a good guilty, plead guilty, and we'll get you that. Yeah. And you don't get a trial with man in the street because the barristers don't want to wait 9 months for the money. That's what it is. They want paying on straight away, don't they? And if you're not paying, they just say, look, blah blah blah, go guilty. So it's bad for the sport, but if he comes back, who's he going to fight? He's going to fight. I mean, they're saying Kell Brook, and that would be a gimmicky fight, wouldn't it? Kell Brook or Eubank.
Well, he's not.
Are they misfit fights, Julian? Then.
Well, they're not far off, are they? The fighters who are really shot to bits. I mean, ultimately, they're gonna milk this as much as they can. And he'll probably fight a couple of times this year if everything's cleared, because we haven't heard from the Border Control. We haven't heard from UKAD in terms of there's going to be an appeal. So if he was cleared and this was black and white, and I keep saying the same thing, it'd be done. But it's not clear, it's not done yet, but it's over by the shouting, because who can take on Matchroom and Matchroom's money? And the Border Control probably need Conor Benn to box. They probably need these massive shows. And they need boxing to keep, the wheels of boxing to keep turning. Because if they don't have Conor Benn, Eddie's just going to take it stateside, isn't he? And he'll just do whatever he does over there and leave Britain to just... John Fury was talking about the Saudi money as well, wasn't he? Saying there's going to be crumbs left in Britain, British boxing potentially. And there's something in that. So Eddie might take it stateside if he doesn't get what he wants on the board. Fury's on about taking their stuff over to Saudi. Everybody's taking it to Saudi. We're going to be left with the crumbs. So Mick Whale, Josh Whale, those guys, and the Steffi Bulls, and Dennis's, they're all going to be struggling at grassroots level, while the big money players in the US or in Saudi, and it'll be the demise of grassroots boxing in the UK. And we've done it to ourselves. The sport's done it to itself. So greed will always prevail every single time. Power and corruption will always prevail. And we're seeing two things now. We're seeing the Border Control, who stayed so quiet because they're a toothless tiger, really, out of the Border Control. They've got no balls. They've got
no go-nards.
no credibility, no balls, and no jurisdiction by the looks of things. And what we've also got now is this massively explosive situation now where if you were managing fighters and one of your fighters failed a drugs test, you just said, nah, don't know how it got there, didn't do anything. And if you've got enough money, you can throw as much money as you want and you get away with it.
What if you ain't got enough money? What if you haven't got enough money and you fail the dope test and you know you've got adno? Is your trainer putting something in your drink?
Liam Cameron, innit? There you go.
Well, I personally believe Liam were counting ticket money and he got, because I remember going up to his house one day and I said, what you got a pair of fucking socks on for? So I've been counting money.
Extra gear,
you know what I mean? So I said, all right. So that's how I look at it for him. He says he didn't take out. Well, what can you do? 4 year though. 4-year ban.
4 year for a bit of speed, a bit of coke. It's mad, isn't it? You've never had anything like it. Recreational drug.
Do you know what? You probably might be right there. It might be speed that they're selling as coke now.
Yeah, there might be. Yeah, the cheap stuff. But hey, listen, you got whichever way you do it, and people shoot me down. You got the heavyweight champion of the world, who's had a ban. He's had a ban for performance-enhancing drugs. You got probably the biggest star in world boxing in Canelo Alvarez, who's had a ban.
And who was inventing weight classes at 155?
That's right.
Do you know what? This morning, Julian, after my walk, I jumped on the scales. I thought 155 is Canelo ready for the pork.
So you ready, mate? But it goes back to this. You know, I'll apologise when he's cleared of having it in his system, or he's cleared of, you know, it's clearly been an issue with the process or real bad contamination or whatever. Then I'll apologise at that point, and I'll, like I say,
he's knackered. They've chatted a load of knackered. They've spun that many yards. We don't know where we are with them, but it's like I said. I always used to say, you know, once you tell a lie, you've got to tell another, or you got to shut it down and hope it goes away. They couldn't shut it down, so it just grew and grew and grew, and it become that big that it squashed everybody inside, even you can't. Isn't it? Because they threw that much money at it, that many illegal. I mean, I'm hearing stories they were running around dealing with companies that deal with Michigan Derena and all that. They're like a 500 quid an hour, aren't they? Just for a letter. That's the most deal with royal family, isn't it? Them lawyers, Michigan Derena.
Look at the royal family. Look at Google and look at all these massive companies who's avoiding paying tax and all this kind of stuff. You can't deal with this. You can't compete with that.
Well, like Prince Andrew with a £12 million fine, but don't worry, you don't have to go to jail for what you've done. Just pay.
Yeah, I'll pay 12 million, but nothing happened. I've never met you. I'm going to pay 12 million to a person I've never met, even though there's a photograph that's to the contrary. But yeah,
I'd have had my day in court, mate. I said, "No, you slag," if it were not true. So get in that courtroom, because since then her story's crumbled, hasn't it? Since she's had the money.
But she's got the money, though, hasn't she? She's got the cash.
She's not bothered now, is she?
She's got the payout. It's corruption, mate. Yeah. So, like I said, time's running out, but no apology from me. I've come off YouTube because I said I would if various things happen. It wasn't the Conor Benn things, 4 or 5 things have said it happens this year. I can't be bothered with it. And I love everybody who puts really kind comments, and even people who don't agree with us, as long as they've got something behind it and they're willing to show the face. We're all for that, mate, aren't we? But you'll never change it. And I don't even wish Conor Benn any harm. I don't even hope he gets knocked out. I'm not right bothered. It's like, good luck to him. Yeah, you're cleared of nothing. You are cleared of nothing at this point in time. But good luck to him, and good luck to everybody who likes watching Conor Benn and supports him and thinks he's going to be this big superstar. And you can't change it, so you can genuinely just say, look, Eddie Hearn, Frank Smith, Conor Benn, don't stay awake on a night thinking about Julian Mc Gowan and worrying about me. So I really shouldn't be staying awake worrying about them, should I?
No. I see your point. All right, well, listen, thanks for coming on. I hope you have a change of heart down the line and you want to come back on Focus Corner.
Well, you and I said we're going to do some fitness videos for over 50s, didn't we? We're going to come to the gym. We're going to have some sessions.
Yeah, I'll come on.
we'll smash ourselves and we'll put it online, mate, won't we?
Right.
And let people have a look at the porks there and Jules doing a bit of squatting.
Hey,
mate.
listen, there's nobody in shape wearing for 53-year-old kid, is there, around here?
Totally agree, mate. Totally agree.
All right.
You
Take
care,
care.
mate.
Have a great weekend, mate. And